Hello everybody and welcome to English for Arabs. Unit 9 Part 2 Interchange 3 4th edition. Let's get it started. 8 words of exercise number 8 vocab book. Personal ad advertisement. A newspaper ad with a brief description of person's hobbies, interests, physical characteristics. Hobbies, O as a sound. Hobbies. Physical characteristics, characteristics. These are the personal qualities of the person. The personality. Dating service. Dating. British. Dating. British. American. Dating. T soft D between A and I, between two vowels. Dating service, a company that matches people up. Having romantic relationships. Check out. Find out. Check out. Find out about something. Find out, make a link between D and O. Find out. And here we stress on ba. Find out about something. Here, we didn't say about, no, wrong. Say about. Stress on B. Find out about something. 9. Peeved. Bother. To be annoyed. 10. Shy. Not friendly. Not sociable. A therapist. A therapist. Someone who treats a mental or physical illness. A therapist. Overcome. British over. Who make the R silent. Overcome. British. American. Overcome. Get rid of. Bite. To use your teeth to cut. Bite. To use your teeth to cut. Fingernail. Nail. The part that covers the end of a finger. The end. That becomes Z because here we have E vowel. The end. Anxiety. Worry. Anxiety. T soft D in American. Anxiety. British. Anxiety. British. American. Anxiety. Worry. British. Worry. Tapping your fingers. Hitting. T soft D in American. Hitting your fingers. Here T soft D between two vowels I and I. Hitting your fingers. Tapping your fingers. Hitting your fingers. 11. Junk food. Fast food. 12. Argue. Have a debate. Discuss. 13. Critical thinking. Judgmental thinking. 13. Critical thinking. Judgmental thinking. Sufficient. Enough. In terms of, according to. React. To act as a direct result. Result. S as Z. Human being, man. Instead of, F, V. Instead of. In place of. Traditional, usual. Shade. Slight darkness. Slight darkness, GH silent. Slight darkness. Here, O, British, consequence. American, consequence. Consequence. A bad result. Consequence, a result, but most of time, a bad result. For instance, for instance, for example, for example, for instance, for example. Characteristics. H here is silent. Character, characteristics. Qualities. The qualities of a person. Rely on. Make link between Y and O. Rely on, depend on. Rely on, depend on. Reason. SZ, reason. Logic, thinking. Thinking, and also say thinking. I can make the G silent. Objectively. British. American, O as a, up. Objectively. Logically. Integrate. To mix. To combine. Subjectively. Based on personal feelings but not facts. Bias, a preference. Evidence, proof. Prejudice, and fair opinion. Interpretation, find meanings. An asset, a useful skill. An asset, make link between N and A. An asset, a useful skill. Exercise number 8, conversation. Look at the picture. What do you see? 2 young men, and maybe they are getting out of the gym. They're wearing t-shirts, jeans. Let's listen to exercise number 8, conversation. I have 2 left feet.
Page 61, exercise 8, conversation. I have 2 left feet. Part A. Listen and practice.
This is so depressing. I haven't had a date since Angela broke up with me. What can I do?
Why don't you join an online dating service? That's how I met Amy.
Actually, I've tried that. But the people you meet are always different from what you expect.
Well, what about taking a dance class? A friend of mine met his wife that way.
A dance class? Are you serious?
Sure, why not? They offer them here at the gym.
I don't think that's a very good idea. Have you ever seen me dance? I have 2 left feet.
So here, this is a conversation. I have 2 left feet. This means I can't dance well. A, listen and practice, listen and repeat. This is so depressing, annoying. This is frustrating. I haven't had a date since Angela broke up with me. A date, a romantic relationship. Since Angela broke up with, it means broke up with me. Since Angela ended her relationship with me, ended her romantic relationship with me. To break up with somebody, to end a romantic relationship. What can I do? Why don't you join an online dating service? Why don't you, plus main verb, join. Why don't you join an online dating service? Online on the internet, dating service, dating agency. Dating, it means to have romantic relationships with other people, like matchmaking, to get married. That's how I met Amy. Met Amy, T soft D. Actually, I've tried that. I've tried that. But the people you meet are always always L silent, are always different from what you expect. From what do you expect? When you meet the people, they are always different from what you think. Well, what about? What at T sub D? What about taking dance class? Taking ing, I can make the G silent, taken. What about taking dance class? A friend of mine met his wife that way. That way. A dance class? Are you serious? Are you serious or you are kidding? Are you serious? Class, American, British, class. Sure, why not? Not, why not American? British, why not? They offer them here at the gym. They offer dance classes at the gym. I don't think that's a very good idea. Have you ever seen me dance? I have 2 left feet. I have 2 left feet, I can't dance. Let's ask some questions. Why is James depressed? Because he hasn't had a date since he broke up with Angela. What can he do? Why doesn't he join an online dating service? Also, what about taking a dance class? B. Class activity. What are some other good ways to meet people? You can meet people in different places. You can meet people in colleges, universities, in courses, English courses, French courses. You can meet people in weddings. In a wedding, a marriage party. You can meet people in birthday parties. Exercise number 9, grammar focus.
Page 61, Exercise 9, Grammar Focus. Making suggestions. With modals plus verbs.
Maybe you could go to a chat room.
With gerunds.
What about taking a dance class? Have you thought about asking your friends to introduce you to their other friends?
With negative questions.
Why don't you join an online dating service?
With infinitives.
One option is to join a club. It might be a good idea to check out those discussion groups at the bookstore.
Making suggestions. How to make a suggestion, how to give advice. You can use modals. Modals like can, could, shall, should. Plus verbs. Maybe you could go. Maybe you could plus main verb. Maybe you could go to chat room. With gerund. Gerund, verb plus ing. What about? What about taking a dance class? Taking and also taking. What about taking a dance class? Have you thought about asking your friends to introduce you to their other friends? So here, after what about, have you thought about, we have gerund, verb plus ing. Taking, asking. Taking, asking. With negative questions. Negative, we have not, like don't. Why don't you? Why don't you join? Join, main verb. Why don't you plus main verb? Why don't you join an online dating service? With infinitives. Infinitive, this is of course to plus main verb plus infinitive. One option is to join a club. One option. Option, choice. One option is to join a club. It might be a good idea to check out those discussion groups at the bookstore. It might be a good idea to plus infinitive. One option is to plus infinitive. One option is to join. It might be a good idea to check out. So here, one option is to plus infinitive. It might be a good idea to plus infinitive. After to, we put infinitive.
Okay, so now after watching the video and listening to the conversation, we're going to look at all the different ways that the doctor gave the different people suggestions. And so that's what we're looking at today, making suggestions in different ways. So let's start with the problem that the first person had. The first person had a problem with biting their nails, right? So the doctor gave a suggestion, and the doctor said, what about painting your nails, right? And the other suggestion was, have you thought about putting band-aids on your fingers? Now, let's look at these types of suggestions. Now, if we notice our main verb, for example, painting and putting, those are both in the ing gerund form of the verb. And the reason why we do that is because of the word before it, about. In both of these, we use the word about. So one rule in English is that when we use a preposition, for example, about, or of, or on, or in, those are all prepositions. But after we use a preposition and we use a verb, we always use the ing verb, the gerund, right? So this is one way to make a suggestion. What about, or have you thought about, and then using a gerund. Okay? Now, if we remember, the other problem was the person who wanted to stop smoking. And the doctor gave one suggestion and said it might be helpful to chew gum, right? It might be helpful to chew gum. And the other suggestion was, one thing you could do is to get hypnotized. So now if we look at these verbs, the main verbs, to chew and to get, we're using the infinitive form, and the infinitive is to, and then the normal verb, right? And the reason why we do this is because when we use the verb be, and then we use the verb after that, the verb is almost always in the infinitive form. So here we see that here. It might be helpful to chew gum. And over here we see it, one thing you could do is to get hypnotized. So in both of these, we're using the verb to be and the infinitive. Good. Now let's look at the last way that we saw to give suggestions, and that was for this woman who had a problem with shopping. She was a shopaholic. So the doctor said, well, why don't you cut your credit card in half? And the other suggestion was, maybe you could freeze your credit card in ice. So we're using the base form if we look at these verbs, cut and freeze. And remember, the base form is when you don't do anything to the verb, right? It's not an infinitive, it's not a gerund, it's not the past tense, it's just the normal base form of the verb. So we do this for two different reasons. One is then when we use an auxiliary, for example, do or don't, right? Then we always use the base form. And the other reason is when we use a modal verb. After modal verbs, again, we always use the base form of the verb. So here we notice it's a question, and it's a negative question. So it says, why don't you cut your credit card in half? So here's my auxiliary, don't. And because it's using that auxiliary, I'm always using the base form. Now here I'm saying maybe you could freeze your credit card in ice. So here I have a modal verb, could, right? So when I use the modal verb, I always have to use the base form. And when I use the auxiliary, in a question especially, I'm always using the base form of the verb. So it's important to look at those three different forms of the verb. The base form after the auxiliary do and after the modal verb. The infinitive always after the verb to be. And the gerund always after any type of preposition. So now you've seen a bunch of different ways, quite a few different ways of making suggestions. So I hope this was helpful, and good luck with the rest of the grammar, and thanks for watching, guys.
A. Circle the correct answers, then practice with a partner. So here, in this exercise, you have a dialogue between A and B, and you choose B. You have two choices. You choose the right answer. Example number 1. How can I build self-confidence? What about or why don't you? Here I have participating. This is verb plus ing. So I'm gonna use what about. What about participating in more social activities? What about participating in more social activities? Participating, verb plus ing. What about participating in more social activities? What could help me be happier? What could help me be happier? Maybe one option, one choice. So choose what? Number 2, maybe you could try not to get annoyed about little things. Maybe you could try not to get angry about little things, small things, small issues, tiny issues. 3, how can I get better grades? Have you thought about it? Might be a good idea too. So here I have join. This is infinitive. Join a study group. So the answer is it might be a good idea to join a study group. To join. 4. What can I do to save money? Why don't you? What about? Here I have come up with a budget. Come up, this is the infinitive, the main verb. So of course, why don't you come up with a budget? Because if I use what about, I need verb plus ing. What about coming up? So here I have the verb come up, so why don't you come up with a budget? 5. How can I get along with my roommate better? How can I get along with to have good relationship with your roommate? How can I get along with my roommate better? Why don't you? Have you thought about planning, verb plus ing? Have you thought about planning fun activities to look forward to every week? Have you thought about planning fun activities to look forward to every week? So here, have you thought about, I need here verb plus ing, planning. Now, in number B, this is group work. You take turns asking and answering the question in part A. You answer with your own suggestions. So here in this exercise, you and your friend, you make a dialogue. How can I build self-confidence? So you're gonna say, what about? What about joining courses? Why don't you join a course? Have you thought about taking acting classes? So this is of course going to be group work between you and your friend. You have to answer by your own self.
Do exercise 10, listening. All you have to do is Part A. Listen to people give different suggestions for each problem. Put a line through the suggestion that was not given. 1. How to overcome shyness.
Well, I think if you're really shy, it might be a good idea to see a therapist or someone like that. You know, to get some professional help. You can't always change by yourself.
Or how about getting one of those self-help books from the library? I'm sure there are books around with lots of good suggestions that you can try.
I think the best thing is to join a club and do activities where you have to meet and talk to different people. Like, if you join a theater group and work on putting on a play, you'll probably be able to overcome your shyness.
Number 1. How to overcome shyness. Overcome, get rid of. How to get rid of shyness. To be shy, not sociable. So, read a self-help book, yes. Join a club, yes. See a therapist. A therapist is a professional person to treat diseases. So the three suggestions are said, but which suggestion wasn't given? Of course, number D, take medication, to take medicine. So number 1, the answer is D, take medication. Number 2.
2. How to stop biting your fingernails.
I think biting your fingernails is just a sign of anxiety. So the first thing to do is to find out what's making you nervous. Once you've identified that problem and then solved it, the nail biting will disappear.
My sister used to bite her nails all the time, so she started wearing bright red nail polish. She bought the really expensive kind, so she felt that she had made an investment in quitting her bad habit. I think the polish made her think about what she was doing, too. Anyway, after a few months, it worked, and she has really nice nails now. I guess if you're a guy, it's a little more difficult, though.
Maybe you could find something else to do when you're stressed out, like tapping your fingers or counting to 100. You have to try to transfer your habit into a different activity, one that doesn't cause such a problem.
So number 2, how to stop biting your fingernails. Bite, to cut your fingernails with your teeth. So this is, of course, we have the solutions, the mentioned solutions. Number 1, you can figure out why you are nervous. You should solve the problem that makes you nervous. Number 2, she said also you can paint your nails. Paint your nails, this means polish your nails with expensive kind of polishing, and of course this is an expensive investment, so you can't cut it. 3, you can count instead. If you are angry, you have to search for something like you count to 100. So they mentioned A, C, and D. So what is the answer? What is the solution? They didn't mention it. It's B. Wear gloves. Number B. So number 2, the answer is B. Number 1, D, take medication. Number 2, B, wear gloves.
3. How to organize your busy schedule.
To organize a busy schedule, one thing you could do is make a list. I usually make a list of all the things I have to do. Then I prioritize them. Then I decide which days I'm going to get the things done based on which errands are the most important.
Maybe you could use electronic reminders. Put all the things you need to do into your calendar on your phone or your email. Then program it so you have reminders sent to you. For some things, you might get a reminder 15 minutes before, but for other things, it might be better to get a reminder a few hours or even days before. I use that to help me remember people's birthdays.
If your schedule is really busy, it might be a good idea to get help. There are plenty of professional consultants who organize people's lives. It's expensive, but if you're too busy, it's the only way to get everything done.
Number 3, how to organize your busy schedule. Schedule timetable. This word schedule, American, schedule, American. So to organize your busy schedule, program your phone. You can use the phone calendar. You can make a list of priorities. You can make a list and put the things which are very important first and then least important. Or you can talk to a consultant, a professional person. So these are the mentioned solution. Which one wasn't given? It's number C, cancel appointments. To cancel your appointments. This is not mentioned. It's number C. So number 3 answers C. B. Pair work. Look at the suggestions. Which one seems the most helpful and why? Which one do you think is the most helpful suggestion and why? This is, of course, a discussion between you and your friends. Exercise number 11. Speaking. Bad habits. Group work. Make 3 suggestions for how to break each of these bad habits. Then share your ideas with the class. Which ideas are the most creative? Which ideas are the most new ideas? Creative to have new ideas. How can I stop? We have here different bad habits. Look at the picture number 1. A young lady, and she's buying a wonderful purse. Buying things I don't need. So what's her bad habit? She buys things that she doesn't need. So what is the solution? One thing you could do is to cut up your credit card. So she should cut her credit card. She should cut up her credit card. With this way, she doesn't have money. Another thing. Why don't you keep your money in the bank and you take an allowance for the month only for your expenses for food and important issues and no credit cards? 2. What is the second bad habit? Eating junk food. Junk food, fast food. Eating junk food at night. So this is very bad habit to eat fast food or junk food at night before you go to bed, before you sleep. You should eat junk food or you should eat food before sleeping at least within 3 hours, at least 2 or 3 hours. So, how can I stop eating junk food at night? So you see here the young man is eating, we have here a lot of cookies and biscuits, potato chips, a lot of junk food. He's watching television, has a remote control, and he's eating. So this is very bad habit. Why don't you have a diet? What about having a diet? What about eating healthy food, vegetables and fruit? What about eating dinner early, before sleep within 3 hours? Picture number 3, see a young lady and she's holding her fingers. This is cracking my knuckles. So she's cracking her knuckles. This is a very bad habit. So how can we stop cracking your knuckles? One thing you could do is to wear gold rings. So whenever you try to crack your knuckles, you look at the gold rings, you will not do it. You will be afraid. Exercise number 12. This is, of course, writing. 12. Writing. A letter of advice. Imagine you are an advice columnist at a magazine. An advice columnist, a writer who gives advice for the readers. Choose one of the letters below and make a list of suggestions, and then write a reply. This is going to be homework. So here you have different letters and email messages from different readers to a magazine columnist. My best friend seems anxious a lot. Anxious, very angry. She bites her fingernails and always looks tired. Bite her fingernails. She cuts her nails with her teeth and always looks tired. I don't think she's eating right either. Also, she doesn't eat well. How can I convince her to take better care of herself? How can I persuade her her to take better care of herself? Worried. This is, of course, the signature, worried. Someone who's very worried, who's very angry. The second suggestion, the second letter. I argue with my girlfriend all the time. To argue, to have debates, to have problems, to have discussions with your girlfriend all the time. I try to do nice things for her, but we always end up in a fight. Every time I try to do good things for her, we finish in a fight. I can't put up with this much longer. I can't continue like that. What can I do? Frustrated, depressed, very sad. So this is going to be homework. You can write about one of your own problems and you send it to your friends, of course, to try to help you solve the problem. Be group work. Take turns reading your advice. Whose advice do you think will work and why? Try to make a discussion in your class. Exercise 13, reading, critical thinking. Critical thinking, judgmental thinking. Have you ever said something and then regretted that you didn't think carefully before opening your mouth? What happened? Have you ever said something and then you were sad that you didn't think well before you started to talk? What happened? So here, in this passage, we're going to talk about critical thinking. Good way of thinking, judgmental thinking. Look at the picture here. You have someone and the young man is talking on the phone, and there are different computers and he's talking fast. So this is think before number one, this is paragraph number one. Think before you speak. Has anyone ever said that to you? You should think before you speak. It's only human to react quickly. It's only human beings. It's only man. Man here doesn't mean man or woman, but a man, a human being who react quickly, who act quickly and perhaps and maybe emotionally to things that happen. People react in emotional way according to their feelings, not by mind. They didn't use their mind sometimes. But without giving ourselves sufficient thinking time, without giving ourselves enough thinking time, we may see things in terms of black and white. Some people think in things in black and white, right and wrong, instead of, in place of considering various shades, different shades, darkness, shade, slight darkness, small darkness, of gray and other colors. So it's not black and white, we have other colors such as gray. Also, it's all too easy to ignore connections and consequences. Also, it's all too easy, it's easy to ignore, to avoid connections and consequences. consequences, results. Consequences, British, American, consequences. So, what is the main advice here? You should think before you speak. You should think about the results of your words. Don't think about black and white, but we have other colors, such as gray. 2. At one level, thinking is fairly simple. Thinking is rather simple. It's very easy. For example, it might simply involve making a shopping list. You can make a shopping list very easily. However, there is a deeper and more complex level of thinking. You can think deeply in a very complicated way. Complicated. More difficult way. This is often called critical thinking. And this is a higher way of thinking. It's called the critical thinking. So critical thinking, judgmental thinking, it's complicated thinking. And it has several characteristics. It has different characteristics, different qualities, different features. First, it requires that you rely on reason rather than emotion. You should depend on reason, logic, mind. You should depend on facts rather than emotion, feelings. This means you have to look objectively. You have to look objectively. O as a sound in American. Objectively, it means you look to the facts, at all available evidence. You search for proof or evidence and decide if it's true, false, or perhaps partly true. That this thing is true or false, or maybe it's true, but not all of it, only a part of it. Second, you have to be self-aware and recognize your biases and prejudices. Second, you have to be self-aware and recognize and realize and understand your biases, your preferences, and prejudices, because they may cause you think subjectively. You can think subjectively, that means you depend on yourself. It means you may think in subjective way, according to your feelings, according to your emotion. A third characteristic, the third quality, the third thing is that you need to be open to new ideas and interpretations. You need to be open to new ideas and explanations. So here we talk about the critical thinking, and we said number one, okay, that this is a deeper, you should think deeper and more complex. It requires to depend on reason. This is number one. Okay. Number two, you have to be self-aware and recognize your biases. Number three, you need to be open to new ideas and interpretations. Paragraph 3. Critical thinking can help you in just about everything you do. So you can use the critical thinking in everything in your life. One of the most important things it helps you do is to solve problems. You can use the critical thinking in solving your problems. This has always been an asset. This is of course an important skill in many traditional fields, in many usual fields, in many ordinary fields, such as education, research, business, and management. But it's also very useful to help people keep up with the new fast-moving knowledge economy, which is driven by information and technology. It's very important, of course, to make use of the new technology and the information. Often, T silent, modern and American modern. Modern workers often have to analyze and integrate. They have to analyze the situation and integrate information to make the information complete from many different sources in order to solve problems. So also here you can use the technology and information to complete the missing information. You can get this from different sources to solve your problems. 4. We all sometimes speak before we think. Sometimes we speak before we think about what we are speaking. And we all have blind spots. We have blind areas. We have points of weakness. Sometimes we say the words before we speak. We say the words before we think, and we have big trouble. Nevertheless, while thinking critically doesn't always happen automatically, it will certainly serve you well whatever you do in life. So, you should be patient before you speak and talk and start to think in a judgmental way, and don't think automatically and talk automatically. Think first before you talk. This is of course a wonderful passage about thinking. Now, that's the end of unit number 9. Now let's get the homework. Number 1, you should answer these questions about the passage by yourself. 2, keep the words by heart. 3, answer 3 pages of the workbook. Unit 9 workbook of Interchange 3. Interchange 3 Unit 9 workbook. Watch the video of Cambridge University. Also, it's better, of course, to go to www.interchangearcade.org for more questions. You can watch the grammar video, the complete grammar video for Mr. Kyle Rolofson. Wish you all good luck. That's the end of our video today. Hope you like it, share it, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.